Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story of love, duty, and a sacrifice so extreme, so profound, that it became a legend, literally etched into the soul of a nation.
You know, the greatest stories often begin with the land itself, and ours is no exception. It starts in a place of stark, rugged beauty, a place with a long and bloody history of conflict.
This really brings us to the question at the very heart of this story. It's a question a young queen had to answer in what might be the most dramatic and, frankly, unimaginable way possible. To really get a handle on the unbelievable choice she made, we first have to understand her world, the ancient kingdom of Mewar, and what we now call Rajasthan.
And let me tell you, this was a tough place to live. A harsh, rugged land where life was a constant struggle. Survival here demanded a special kind of strength from its people.
And you can literally see its history written in stone. The entire landscape is dominated by these massive fortresses, just silent witnesses to century after century of warfare.
Ruling this land was a warrior class known as the Rajputs. Now, for these people, a code of duty and honor wasn't just some nice idea. It was everything. It was valued far, far more than life itself.
Rajput society definitely had its ranks, but it didn't matter if you were a great king or an ordinary soldier. Every single person was bound by this shared, unshakable code of martial duty.
So you might be asking, how does a culture like that make sure its values survive for generations? Well, it's simple. They told stories. Yeah, for them, history wasn't some stuffy old book sitting on a shelf. It was alive. It was a living, breathing thing, preserved and performed through powerful, heroic poetry.
And this tradition had two main flavors. You had Pingal, which was more for the history buffs. Think genealogies, historical records, that sort of thing. But then there was Dingle. This was the heroic stuff. This poetry was all about valor, warfare, and sacrifice. And it's right there in that heroic tradition that we find the heart of our story today.
And at the center of that story are two people, caught in this impossible tug-of-war between the deepest kind of love and the absolute highest form of duty.
Okay, let's meet our key players. First, we have the newlywed queen, Hada Rani. Her actual name was Sahal Kunwar. And then there's her husband, the great chieftain Ratan Singh Chundawat of Mewar.
And when I say newlywed, I mean it. They had been married for less than a week. But as we all know, war doesn't really care about your honeymoon plans. A call to arms arrives from the Maharana himself. Ratan Singh is ordered to lead the army against the forces of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Effective immediately. I mean, can you imagine? Ratan Singh was facing an impossible choice. On one side, his sacred duty to his king, his people, his land. On the other, his heart, which was completely and totally captivated by his new queen, and he was hesitating. He eventually does prepare to leave for battle, but even as he's riding away, his mind, his heart, all of him, it's still back in the palace with his queen. So he sends a messenger back with what sounds like a pretty romantic request. He asks his queen for a token, a senani they called it, something he could carry into the fight, a symbol of her love to give him strength.
But Hada Rani, she understood the devastating truth behind his request. She realized his love for her had become a dangerous distraction, one that could cost them the entire war. She knew that his duty as a Rajput warrior had to come first, above everything else.
There's a famous verse that captures her chilling response. Translated, it says, Chundawat asked for a token. The Kshatrani, the warrior woman, gave her head.
Believing she was the only thing holding her husband back from his destiny, she took a sword, severed her own head, and had it placed on a platter. This was the memento she sent back to him. Stunned, his heart shattered, but in that grief, a terrible, unbreakable resolve was forged. Ratan Singh tied his wife's head to his neck by her hair and charged into battle. He fought with such ferocious courage that the Mughal army was routed before he too, victorious, finally fell on the battlefield. Her sacrifice was never, ever forgotten. It became a living part of Rajasthan's identity, inspiring everything from police battalions and folk songs to memorials that you can still visit to this day.
And while her story is truly one of a kind, it's also important to remember. It's one of many. It comes from a culture forged by nearly 1,000 years of constant conflict, a history that is just overflowing with these incredible tales of sacrifice for honor.
It's a story that continues to inspire, a powerful, enduring symbol of the indomitable courage of the women of that land.
So in the end, the legend of Hadi Rani is so much more than just a historical event. It's a cultural touchstone. It's a story that forces us to think about duty, love, and sacrifice. And it leaves us with a question that echoes from her time all the way to ours. What are the defining stories we tell ourselves? And what do they ask of us in return?